Hello my sandy friends, today we will explore lens 7, use of space in the sand tray. With this lens we largely concern ourselves with horizontal use of space. So basically it's the area of the sand tray, the expanse of the sand within the sand tray. We will look at vertical space and the use of height and depth in the next lens. So today it is the area of the sand tray and how it is being used. Some of the things you may observe in the use of space in the sand tray are, for example, does the tray seem full or empty? Is it crowded? Is it spacious? How are the symbols distributed across the area of the sand tray? Is there a balanced, even distribution? Sometimes it's very symmetrical, sometimes it's very random, sometimes very chaotic or sparse. So just notice what you're experiencing as you observe the use of space in the tray. Notice any parts of the tray that are crowded. It could be all of the tray, it could be particular corners or areas, and there may be some areas of the tray that seem empty. They may only seem empty and not necessarily empty for the client, but notice if there are no symbols placed in particular areas. You may also see some symbols positioned on the edge of the tray, so that is often interesting. Often that refers to an observing ego part of us that's overseeing the sand tray, or maybe that's a part of us that's escaping the sand tray and doesn't want to be in the sand tray. Sometimes some symbols are left outside of the tray but still are in some way part of it or connected to it, which is different from some symbols being discarded and left in the basket, the symbols that the client doesn't use at all. You may find that there are some distinct groupings of symbols, so some of them might seem to belong together in different areas of the tray, or sometimes symbols are distributed fairly evenly and they may be not any obvious grouping as far as you can observe. So what's important, the clients may or may not comment on the use of space, and you may notice things that could seem really useful for the client to know, but question yourself whether it is safe, relevant and appropriate for them to hear that or to be asked a question about that at this time. You may have some great insights, but is it the right time and place to share them with the client? So that's something to consider, depending on the theoretical model you're working with. In order to understand the use of space in the sand tray at a deeper level, I would very much encourage you to use the first 3 lenses, paying attention to the body, to emotions and to your intuitions, in order to attune to the sand tray and to the client, of course. Otherwise there is a risk that we may interpret, make assumptions too soon, and we may well be incorrect, which is not very helpful to the client, even if we don't speak our assumptions. For example, if there is a single symbol in the sand tray, or maybe just a couple of symbols in the sand tray, which is the example here, you may assume that this is pretty much an empty sand tray, and maybe the client is feeling desolate and empty and perhaps dissociated, but that is not necessarily the case. This is one of my sand trays, and that was not my experience when I created it. It did feel like throwing off the shackles. It was about freedom, about strength, and reclaiming power. So that interpretation would not have been accurate or helpful. Some people attach different meanings to different areas of the sand tray. And again, I would hold that very lightly. Some of the suggestions may be very interesting, but they're not necessarily true. For example, some people will attach the meaning of the past to left side of the sand tray and meaning of the future to the right side of the sand tray, or body to the bottom part of the sand tray and mind to the top part of the sand tray. In my experience, these assumptions do not often match the real life experience of clients when they actually describe their sand tray. Sometimes these things may match each other, but I don't think these could possibly be universally true. So I would hold any assumptions or any knowledge of what different areas of the tray might mean very, very lightly, and take it all with a pinch of salt. Hope you enjoyed exploring lens number 7, use of space in the sand tray. Tomorrow we'll be looking at the vertical use of space. And in the meantime, you can get the full handout of 36 lenses for Witnessing Sandtrays from the shop page on my Sand and Sound Centre website. And you can also access a free 3-module course on my Sand Therapy Journeys website. See you soon.